Good morning upon you. Welcome to a Wednesday. Mike. What day is it, Mike? It is January 8th at 6:26 in the morning here in western Iowa, where the current temperature is 1 degree. One is the loneliest temperature that you'll ever do. All right, let's get into it. There's a lot going on with this southwest storm that's going to become our mid-south storm, and we'll start with the wildfires in Southern California. Just devastating. I'm sure you've seen the pictures and the videos on various media platforms, and it's crazy. And these are your 24-hour maximum wind gusts that are ending at 3 a.m. on Thursday. So we're not out of the woods yet. We're still gusting over 70 miles an hour for many parts of, especially the hills north of LA, but even the hills around LA. So it's just a very dangerous situation. They have all the firefighters on deck that they can muster. And meanwhile, as we're moving into, say, Arizona, even the rest of California, even up into Nevada, it is windy here. Southeastern Arizona, especially with wind gusts there, even 50 to 60 miles an hour. So this storm system quite strong, and as it dives further south and that low pressure gets further away from Southern California, those winds will start to die out. Same for you, Arizona. All right, let's continue with our weather spotlight. My poor friends in Lubbock, Texas. We were talking 2, 3, 4 inches of snow possible for the South Plains, and now it's a half inch. So it's just one of those things. And, you know, I don't miss those days where my hopes were up for a Southern Plains storm and then they were dashed. But, you know, Lubbock does get some snow, so the winter is far from over. We continue with our winter spotlight, part 2. This is where it will snow, it looks like. We're kind of backing off on some of the snow amounts for North Texas, but still, as we'll show you here in a second, still winter storm warnings up for the Big D. But, you know, the best chance and the highest probability of major impacts are going to be, you know, right along the Red River into Oklahoma, especially into Arkansas and the Mid-South. And I'm looking at you, Tennessee, and Memphis could be the bullseye, or maybe northern Mississippi. But it's going to be a lot of snow through this swath, and maybe even a little bit of ice further south, although the ice threat is looking more minimal, which is good. But I wouldn't count it out just yet. Definitely pay attention to your local forecasts if you're in this area. So let's zoom in on Dallas, and yes, there is a winter storm warning. Snow looking for 2 to 4 inches in the warning area, but isolated much more, especially north and northeast of town. So there could be some bands in here, say Denton up to Sherman, over to Greenville, and that's Collin County in between Denton and Greenville, where my kids grew up. So, I mean, there could be some isolated half a foot or more in some of those areas, even up towards Paris, as we get into the storm tomorrow morning. And through the day tomorrow is going to be, tomorrow night and into Friday morning is going to be the peak of the storm. Let's check out some snowfall amounts from our computer models. This is the GFS, and no snow for you, El Paso. We'll get to that in a second. But there's your half inch for Lubbock or less. And then you get into, again, the Dallas area, 6, 8 inches here, especially up near the Red River and through Oklahoma, into Arkansas, northern Mississippi, into Tennessee, and that's going to be more Friday. And then we look at the European, and we have a little bit more further west, so El Paso maybe some snow according to the European, and more snow across the South Plains, although not much more in depth, but more coverage. And then you get, you know, through central Texas, a little bit of snow, maybe back towards places like Abilene, and then probably, you know, again, 6 to 8 inches for the Dallas area up into the Red River, then a stripe of a foot or more into Arkansas. And, you know, we're looking at 6 inches or so for Memphis. So Memphis here is like 7, 6, something like that. So here are the hazards across the country as of this morning. and we'll go from west to east. So we still have those red flag warnings up for Southern California for obvious reasons, high wind warnings, wind advisories, all of that. Also getting into Nevada and to Arizona. And then a lot of the wind advisories are covered up in southern Arizona with their freeze warning, so it's cold. And then we get into New Mexico and far west Texas, and that's where we see our winter weather advisories. So again, places like Deming and Silver City and Las Cruces and El Paso and Alamogordo and Carlsbad, with a chance for enough snow to cause some problems. Then we get into kind of our main event, again, later on tonight into tomorrow, or I should say tomorrow night into Friday. And that's where we're looking at our winter storm warnings for North Texas into parts of Oklahoma, into Arkansas, and then winter storm watches further to the east in the Mid-South. Further south, freeze warnings for Louisiana, New Orleans, freeze warnings, Florida, southern Georgia. And not to be left out, we have enough lake effect snow off the eastern Great Lakes for some winter weather advisories there, and also some winter weather advisories up there, mainly in Montana. This morning, compared to average, much below average Kansas, but well below average for much of Texas and the South and Florida into the mid-Atlantic, and slightly below average for the Midwest. And hard to find above average temperatures on this map, maybe a little bit in Southern California, Arizona, and up there in Montana. Our 24-hour temperature change, it is cooler in the Central Rockies into the Northern Plains, a little bit warmer in Missouri and South Texas, and then slight changes elsewhere. Currently, 1 degree in western Iowa, 1 degree. I don't know, where is that? Salina, Kansas, somewhere in that area. 12 for Wichita. And then you get into the low 20s even for Lubbock. A lot of 20s in the south, getting all the way into Florida with those below freezing temperatures this morning. And temperatures below zero up there in South Dakota, for example. Surface for today, we're starting to see that precipitation come down already this morning. It's light right now in the Lubbock area, so a little bit of light snow happening now in the Texas South Plains, also back into New Mexico and parts of Arizona. And some of that is rain, of course, in the lower elevations of Arizona and down into South Texas. Mix for the plains for some areas, we'll see. And your Great Lakes lake effect snow on the light side, but still there. For tomorrow, we start to crank things up as we get into Texas. Again, this will be later in the day tomorrow for the Dallas area, but heavy snow and then maybe some freezing rain south of that, or a mixture of rain, a mixture of sleet and snow, which will decrease your snowfall amounts as you head south of Dallas. And then the heavy snow will continue to Arkansas and Tennessee, mainly as we get into Friday, which I will show you right here. That's Friday. But before we get to that, I do want to do the 48-hour precipitation before we get into Friday. So this is ending Friday morning at 1 a.m. Could see some heavy rain down there in Texas. And then, of course, further to the north, that's going to be snow. So New Mexico, we see the snow. Far west Texas, we see the snow. Even a dusting in southeastern Arizona and some of the mountains of Arizona. But then you get into the Dallas area, into Oklahoma, into Arkansas. That's the heaviest snow. This map has it along the Red River north of 4 inches, but not quite 8. I mean, we don't see any purples here. And then just a dusting across West Texas. All right, here's that surface on Friday, and that's where we're really going to see things moving into, especially Tennessee, northern Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and into the Carolinas with that heavy snow and probably a stripe of freezing rain below that. Again, those amounts right now don't look critical, but keep an eye on that. And further south will be maybe some thunderstorms for the south. All right, here are your 3 to 7 day hazards. So this is the 10th, which is what, Friday, through the 14th. And again, we see cold temperatures, southeastern Mexico, much of Texas, also up there in the northern plains. There's your freezing rain stripe, central Mississippi into maybe parts of South Carolina. And then the heavy snow north of that from the Red River through Arkansas Tennessee mostly, but northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, southern Kentucky. And then heavy rain down there for Louisiana and the Texas Gulf, the Alabama and the Mississippi Gulf Coast into the Florida Panhandle, and some cold weather, Kentucky and the Virginias. All right, let's show our work on the European this morning. And we're starting out at 6 a.m. Not a lot going on, a little bit of light snow up here in the eastern Great Lakes. And as we go through the day, you see this low down here. This is the surface low. The upper level low is really very, south of Southern California. That's going to be moving to the south, away from California. Those winds will lighten up. It'll stay windy in Arizona. And then as that low opens up, and then that's one reason why we have the weaker lift dynamics for West Texas, and one reason why you're getting skunked. But the wind issues will improve as the low drops south and then heads to the east. Meanwhile, we see our cold air still entrenched here in the Midwest and the Great Lakes and into the southeast. Not a lot going on as we get into tonight. Maybe a mixture of snow and freezing rain here up here in Montana, some light snow for Wyoming. And as we get further into Thursday, then we start to see things erupt. So let me back up just a little bit. This is Thursday morning right here, 6 a.m. A little bit of ice in Texas, a little bit of snow, and then it really starts to get going as we get into the day Thursday. This is noontime. So, Wichita Falls, Henrietta, Nocona, along 82 here, maybe some snow up into Arkansas, and then it's rain further south. Not much ice on this map, maybe a little bit. Hopefully not enough accumulating to be a serious problem. But we see the snow going on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and just hanging on the Red River, but getting into Dallas, and then that heavy rain we talked about further to the south. And then Arkansas starts to get into the act as we get into Friday. This is early morning Friday. Some very heavy snow into Arkansas, moving into northern Mississippi and Tennessee. Heavy rain, Louisiana. More snow, Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, into South Carolina. This is noon on Friday afternoon, Friday evening. That snow continues even up into Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, moving into North Carolina. South Carolina, it's a lot of rain, but a little bit of snow and ice here for the northwestern part of the state. A little bit of ice in North Carolina as we get into early Saturday morning. Snow across the northeast on the light side. And then that all just exits. And then we see another little system up here in the northern plains moving into the Midwest. As we get into Sunday, maybe a little light snow for me Sunday. That would be nice. Maybe Wisconsin, you'll get some much needed snow. Sorry about your bare ground over there. Maybe we'll fix that a little bit. Light snow moving into the Great Lakes as we get into midnight Sunday into Monday. And we'll see light snow generally there into the plains. So we've passed the end of the European model. There we go, jumping to the end there. So our 8 to 14 day temperatures still trending cold because what we didn't show on this map, but this map I can talk about it because we're expecting another shot of cold air next week. So it's going to keep us below average for most of the country and especially East Coast. Precipitation wise, well, the best chance of above precipitation for places you wouldn't expect in a La Nina year, but they're in the southwest, moving into the central plains, much of the southeast as well, and the northern plains. Best chance for below would be West Coast and up there in New England. So a lot going on. Our big storm that's affecting California now with the fires and starting to send a little snow into New Mexico and West Texas right now is really going to get its act together during the day tomorrow. And by tomorrow night into Friday is when we're going to see those biggest effects from, say, Dallas through Arkansas and the Mid-South. And I don't want to leave out Oklahoma. You're going to get some snow too. And we'll keep you posted. We'll do this again tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Weather Mike.